Um,
Sure.
if people have already joined us, thanks for joining us. And while I'm checking that we are live, go ahead and tell us what sort of a clinician you are and where you're joining us from. Um, you probably know Ali already. If you've got questions for Ali in particular, then let me know. This is a very exciting one. We've not got much structure to it. As usual, we're just going to have a bit of a conversation and then a bit of a back and forth, and you can ask me some questions as well. Um, let's make sure we are live before we get into the introduction and things. Oh, LinkedIn still says starting soon. There's always a bit of a delay.
There's always a little lag. That's okay. There,
Yeah.
I've got it. I've got the
You've got it. Oh,
notification
brilliant. Yeah,
happening
there we are.
now.
There it is. I can see it. Fantastic. So we are live. And I think that's just going to be like a couple of seconds lag. All right. So
Fantastic.
welcome to episode 31 of the Clinician Founded podcast, where we explore the stories of doctors and healthcare professionals who built mission driven ventures beyond the bedside. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Ali Jaffee, psychiatrist, mental health advocate, public speaker, co founder of Nutritank, and a coach like me. Also, an award winning organization transforming how nutrition and lifestyle medicine are taught in medical schools across the UK. From being featured on BBC and working alongside Jamie Oliver to inspiring a national conversation about preventative, person centered care, Ali's story is a masterclass in how to turn a single idea into a movement that changes systems. We're going to talk about how Nutritank started and scaled into a national force, the power of storytelling, partnerships, and persistence in driving innovation, how to balance creativity, advocacy, and clinical work without burning out. And so if you're a founder or a clinician founder with a vision for this episode, will help you see how to start and keep going. I'm your host, Dr. Shubhendra Kulshresh, an executive coach and emergency physician, helping clinicians become founders so that medicine can be their side hustle. Through my flagship program, the Clinician Founder Actionship, I help doctors who are ready for more income, more impact, and more freedom to turn their ideas into scalable ventures. If you'd like to explore that or find out what that looks like for you, head to my website, coachwithshub.com, or start by taking the Clinician Founder Assessment down in the descriptions. Let's get into it. Thanks for joining me today, Ali. How are you?
Thank you for such a warm welcome. So beautifully summarized. And yeah, just to say, I'm a psychiatrist in training, but we will get there.
Yes, yes,
Long way
it's
to go.
close enough.
It's close enough,
Yeah,
hopefully.
there
And
isn't, yeah, much different of an exit really. Once you're in the pipe, you're
once
out
you're
the
in
pipe.
it. But it's such a pleasure to be here. I know we've been going back and forth for many years now, following each other's work, and it's so cool to see other clinicians doing things outside the box and away from the status quo. So, yeah, really lovely to be here.
Yeah, fantastic. It's such a pleasure to have met you and then to be able to bring you on the podcast is just an honor. I think the conversation is going to be super exciting for our audience. I guess for anyone who may not have heard about you and may not know you, could you just give us a bit of a summary of who you are and what your career's looked like so far?
For sure. So I am a poly passionate lady. So I wear quite a few hats, but they're all connected. So I am a psychiatrist in training in my second year of specialization in London. I'm also a mental health advocate with my own lived experience of poor mental health during university years, which I talk about really openly on my platforms to help reduce stigma, especially in healthcare professionals' mental health. I'm also a content creator, so I use my story around my own lived experience with mental health challenges, but also my founder's experience to really spread the story and encourage as many people to give it a go, as you can't be what you can't see. And I'm also a coach. So I took a year out of clinical medicine before starting psychiatry and trained in Jamie Smart's School of Coaching so that I could really bring a new lens to psychiatry, not only for my patients, but also when working with teams to better understand workplace stresses, as that's something I'm really passionate about, and also to better understand myself and what my own self limiting beliefs are, as I received coaching, which then inspired me to want to pursue it myself. And finally, I'd say I'm a creative. I am so passionate about the arts and how they can be an outlet for reducing burnout, for your own expression, and for connecting with like-minded people, and as a innovative way of communicating with people that might just not be able to communicate in traditional senses. So that is the whistle stop tour of my life.
Yeah, coming at that problem from all angles, really. That's amazing. And that's what I like to hear. And I think a lot of clinicians start off that way, and a lot of clinician founders start off that way as well. Could you kind of take us back to when that journey started from you, and how did I guess to start off the conversation with the context of Nutritank, and how
Absolutely.
that came about?
Yeah, I don't think I said that in that part. So here, let's
That's
go.
okay.
Nutritank, one of the most important parts of my life, my brainchild with Dr. In broadly. So In and I met in medical school in Bristol, around 9 years ago now. Where have the years gone?
Wow.
Um, and so he was a grad medical student, I was an undergrad, and I had started a nutrition in medicine society called NIMS because on my gap year before starting med school, because I didn't get in first time round, but I persevered, I discovered my passion for preventative healthcare, holistic healthcare, and looking at food as medicine.
Mm,
And when I went to medical school, I was really surprised that we weren't taught around this incredible science of nutrition. And it was very much just overlooked, even though in the NICE guidelines, first line management for every chronic condition from polycystic ovarian syndrome, heart disease, diabetes, whatever, first line management is offered patients' diet and lifestyle advice. So I felt this is really strange that lip service is being given to it from a guideline perspective, but where is the teaching, and why, when I'm on placement shadowing doctors and consultants, why am I not seeing them have these
mm,
discussions? So created that interest group and met in who had this deep passion for lifestyle and healthy living, which we both have now realized has come from our wonderful mothers, Irene and Simone. Shout out to you both. My mom has been a Pilates teacher since before it was cool. So
wow.
since I was 4 years old, she's an ex-dancer, so she's been always very somatic and has taught me that movement is medicine. And likewise, Ian's mom is an educational psychologist who practices nature therapy and does a lot of outdoorsy things. So we've been really lucky to have been exposed to that kind of holistic living through our upbringing and wanted to really bring it to our patients, but saw this huge education gap. And that's
Mm,
when we thought, let's do something about this. Let's not just sit back and complain of the British do. Um, let's actually be disruptive, be millennials that make change. And that's what we did.
mm,
So we didn't just make it a local initiative, although that's where the first Nutritank branch started at Bristol Medical School. We made it into a national initiative by getting onto social media, the real powerful tool that helps us connect. And that's why we're here
wow.
today,
Yeah.
Dr. Shub, is because of social media. So we found loads of other interested medical students from across the UK, very passionate about overhauling this pill for every ill and getting to that proactive healthcare approach. And they set up their own Nutritank branches with our branding and kind of quality assurance. And now, 9 years later, we've got like 2,000 medical schools in the country with Nutritank branches, which act as this hub for the next generation of doctors to not only learn about nutrition and lifestyle for their future patients' care, but for also their own self-care, as we know that physician self-care and patients' care is two sides of the same coin. If you can't look
Yeah.
after yourself, how can you look after others?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've gone on to do lots of top-down stuff as well as all this bottom-up community building. We've worked with Jamie Oliver on his Channel 4 show, where he promoted our work, and we created the campaign that was National Nutrition for Medics. We've worked with Department of Health, getting an extra clause added into the 2019 NHS long-term plan with a greater commitment to nutrition education for frontline clinicians. And we worked with the Association for Nutrition, the regulatory body for registered nutritionists in this country, and the General Medical Council, our regulatory body for doctors, and many other wonderful colleagues on creating a gold standard nutrition and undergraduate medical training curricula that was launched in October 2021, showing that this is possible. But now the real hard thing is implementation.
Yeah.
So I'll stop talking there, but whistle
That
stop
is,
tour
yeah,
on Nutritank.
that is fantastic. So amazing. Oh my God, so many elements that I want to just dig into there. I think what's coming out for me is big themes, and I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of audience and say, if Ali was doing this again in 2025, would it be easier? Would it be harder? How would you do it? And would you still turn to social media And just a side note, I mean, you and I met on LinkedIn as well, and we were just like, I'm a coach looking for other medic coaches, and you're a coach looking for other medic coaches. And we're like, okay, why don't we just like create a group and make this happen? And that's just how amazing things get born. Do you think that's still possible? All of the advantages you may have had when you first started Nutritank, would it be the same in 2025?
It's a really great question because it's not something I've thought about before. Because I do often wonder what it'd be like to be a Gen Z medical student rather than a millennial medical student. Because when we started, I'd say we were really in the minority of kind of entrepreneurship and innovation, especially at the medical student level. We were like some of the first medical students to be accepted onto the NHS clinical entrepreneurship program, whereas now, many cohorts later, I know it's quite common for other healthcare students to be accepted on it, because innovation was kind of viewed as a more senior person's game once they have experience. But I'm a big believer in saying you can innovate at any stage of your career, and sometimes that fresh perspective when you're first in extremely helpful. Absolutely.
We're having some tech troubles. I'm hoping that's me. Oh, what a shame. We're going to give it a quick second. Hopefully, we can come back and continue the conversation. This does tend to happen. I'm just looking at LinkedIn to see where this is. And yeah, it looks like it is still streaming. We are still live and we are still waiting for this internet issue to get solved. So we'll give it a couple of seconds and hopefully Ali can be back and we can continue our conversation. In the meanwhile, I see loads of you joining us. Thank you so much. If you have any particular questions already for Ali, anything you'd like me to specifically ask her about her founder journey, then do put them down in the comments.
I've never
All right. Where are we? Okay. So Ali, there we are. Ali's on text message with me now. We're going to try and figure this out. If you can still see me on other people who are watching on LinkedIn, go ahead and say yes in the comments for me, please. And if you can see Ali, type word Ali, as in you can see a normal video of Ali, just put the word Ali down. I might just ask both of us to refresh and start. Okay. There we are. So, okay, it looks like other people are also having the issue of not being able to see Ali. Okay, so I think Ali's going to try and join back in. Welcome back. There we are. Okay.
It happens. All good.
It happens. It happens. It's been a while since I had tech troubles. I've been fortunate, I think, but yeah, it happens. Sorry about that.
I have that effect. Don't worry.
Oh, jeez. Good thing you don't work in A&E. Well, healthcare in general is a tough place, isn't it, for all of us in terms of the things we face. But we were talking about
what
getting
would I
started,
do differently?
yeah, and doing differently in 2025. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, so going back to kind of like how Nutritank started, it was on Facebook groups, which, I've literally not used Facebook now in probably 7 years.
Wow.
So if we were going to do it today, I think, we would maybe have had the foresight of where the majority of our audience will be. So we started on Facebook, getting the word out that way and WhatsApp groups. And luckily, WhatsApp has stuck with us as
Hmm.
a very go-to platform for connection. And I probably would have got onto Instagram faster.
Okay.
Uh, I had, I don't know, a few self-limiting beliefs about personal branding and getting onto Instagram. But I actually, interestingly, was on LinkedIn, although more in a voyeurish capacity,
Hmm.
even from a young age at medical school, because it was something my dad just said would be good to do. So I just like used to consume information on LinkedIn rather than necessarily post. And now LinkedIn is probably one of the go-to platforms if you're a startup founder and if you're a
Yeah.
the real news to share your research findings because X is kind of no longer. So yeah, I'd say probably would have just not gone down the Facebook route, but you only know this in hindsight in terms of building communities. And I said I would have probably got onto Instagram faster myself from a personal branding perspective. But other than that, I feel like everything we've done has just been learnings and would our faculty and kind of the senior clinicians that we spoke to be more open to it now? Probably, because I think lifestyle medicine was still in its absolute infancy when we
Hmm.
started. We started right at the start of the kind of lifestyle medicine movement, and Bristol was a massive hotbed for whole person care. Some incredibly inspiring people that taught us have been practicing their version of lifestyle medicine without the branding for all their
Yeah.
professional lives, and have been doing social prescribing before it became term social prescribing. So I think what we would have done differently is probably just like had a bit more foresight about social media and marketing, because that is the kind of biggest currency of today
Yeah.
with building anything. But we've learned as we've gone.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think let's dive into that a little bit more. From all your experience so far, what's your take on social media? And you talked about some of the limiting beliefs behind Instagram. Even I'm hoping you can still hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
for me, I didn't want to get onto Instagram in a professional way for quite some time until I had a story to tell. So the reason why I started Instagram was because of my lived experience of depression, which happened in my fourth year of study at medical school, so on my intercalated year out, when I was at Imperial. And because it was such a challenging year and I learned so much about myself, and I nearly didn't go back to medical school, let alone wanting to actually be here on this planet. I overcame that and got on the road to recovery and realized, oh my goodness, it took me so long to ask for help because I had all these self-limiting beliefs about wanting to do psychiatry because I've always wanted to do it and be a doctor that looks after other people's minds, but then I couldn't look after my own. And what did that mean? Could I not be a future psychiatrist because I was having my own mental health challenges? So once I realized that was all absolute BS and called BS on that, I then thought, wow, I really want to get onto a platform and tell my story so I can reduce stigma in that healthcare professional community and also talk
Mm,
about being a founder alongside those mental health challenges. Whereas before, I didn't really know why I would on Instagram, if that makes sense. Like I wanted to have a
yeah.
why to be on it rather than kind of have no purpose. And also, I remember just late to get Instagram. I only really got Instagram at the start of my gap year so I could like share my traveling pictures with friends and family, because I just really didn't like what it stood for in terms of like just pure aesthetics, beauty, and kind of like
Mm,
look at me.
yeah.
Whereas when I kind of realized, no, actually there's beautiful kind of advocates, activists, and really meaningful social entrepreneurs on Instagram. You don't have to do Instagram in that way if you don't want to. You can make it
Mm,
meaningful. That's when I went on it and have loved being on it since and have created boundaries and whatnot. So yeah, I definitely had self-limiting beliefs around getting on, but I also didn't know what the platform was capable of. I only saw like a kind of unpleasant side to it, but actually there's such an incredible side to it of
Yeah.
mental health advocates, campaigners who are really challenging the status quo, getting policy and law implemented, etc. Um, and LinkedIn, like I said, I was kind of on it in a more voyeuristic capacity from my early 20s. And now, as I'm in my last couple months of my 20s, I'd say I'm an avid LinkedIner and no looking back and no regrets, because I absolutely love sharing information and thought leadership on there. And I think the least of like it's the least toxic of the platforms in terms of your on your mental health and well-being, but everyone will be an individual. I know some people find LinkedIn unbearable because it's people just kind of talking about their achievements or sometimes being inauthentic about their failures, but
Yeah.
my feed is 10 out of 10, so I'm very intentional on
Absolutely.
who I follow. So yeah, it's all about that. Likewise with
Yeah.
Instagram, if I'm getting an icky feeling, I unfollow you. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Just curated, right? And
Curated.
yeah, yeah. And it's true on the other end as well. Like when you're creating content, like I was at the Developing Your Portfolio conference this weekend, and
Nice.
they had a
Yeah.
talk on LinkedIn, and everyone's talking about social media and how it genuinely is the new CV, right? Like that's how people get to know you. And the biggest questions were around how do I face criticism? And like we come from medicine where everything is critique, where you have to be evidence based and you've got to like have a backing behind you. And how do you face that when you go onto social media? And the truth is that people curate their feeds as well, and you'll only find people who seeing your content if they are interested in the kind of stuff you're talking about. um, what's kind of been your take on that in 2025? And for someone who's just super early in starting off their brand, maybe on Instagram or maybe on LinkedIn, what would you suggest to them, and how should they think about a personal brand when it comes to their business?
Sure. So, personal brand 101, I would say bring your whole self to it and show off your identity capital, which I think is this wonderful term that I've learned about recently that really expresses all the different parts of your personality, your life experiences, both professional and personal, to create your whole self, which will have value both personally and professionally. And we don't realize that. So I did a post on this the other week about identity capital and the fact that I didn't get into medical school first time round. So it meant that I went on my own journey. None of my friends were applying structured institution where I could discover my own interests, earn some money, go traveling, and learn about myself before going into the world of university. I got to do some really cool things. I jumped out of a plane, I bungee jumped, traveled across Australia all on my own. I really grew on that time. And yes, that was a personal trip, but it actually brought this huge foundational value of mine that I bring into coaching and into my everyday life, which is adventure and curiosity. So that is part of my identity capital that I bring into the workplace as well, and into public speaking talks that I give. And so I think with your personal brand, don't be too rigid in kind of thinking that you just have to talk about clinical expertise or, really kind of traditional professional qualities. Think about what are the values that you've had from really horrible and really exciting life experiences, and how can you bring that into making a really all-round mine through color. And yellow are my two favorite colors. I wear them when I give most talks, although as you can see, I'm in not my I've got my pink scrunchie here, but anyways, so I try and bring my personality because then it's memorable, and it helps so much with networking as well. When if I go to a massive room full of people and you just don't even know where to start, sometimes if I'm wearing a really funky outfit, that might be the person's first kind of direct contact to me, and then we're in a conversation and we both feel less alone. Or I do that to a person that I find their outfit funky. That's just what interests me.
Yeah.
This might not be applicable to everyone. And bring your own personality to your personal brand because it's a personal brand. You're not
Yeah.
trying to be someone else. And that will really help you with brand deals and ambassador kind of opportunities if you share everything that you are interested in. So yeah, that would kind of be my
Yeah.
advice is just be as human as
That's
possible.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I mean, just as you were saying that, I could imagine how rich and full your life is, and it comes across in the way you talk, in the way you share everything, and that makes you unique. And I think that's the
Mm.
authenticity that I think everyone's looking for, and it's just so valuable. I love the term of your identity um, asset and uh,
Capital, yeah.
capital, identity
Yeah,
capital. I think that's
absolutely.
beautiful. Um, okay, so I think that's once people have kind of gotten used to that, gotten used to talking about social media and talking about what to do and where to build, um, how do they actually go from an idea to building a personal brand to finally actually building something that scales to the size of either Nutritank or your coaching work and everything else?
So obviously the foundational basics are get yourself onto Canva, create some good cover photos and play around with the branding for how you want to frame things and populate your LinkedIn profile as like you said, it's the new CV, it's your living CV. Put everything, look at everything as well because I've been contacted for project. Uh, I think it's good to be focused and intentional, but also you can put most of your credentials on there. And then when you actually want to kind of get yourself into the world and noticed and connecting, I'd say interested to go to events. They can be quite London centric. There are obviously online events that you can go to and join communities. So if you're a medical student, I've mentored Yasmin, who is one of the co-founders alongside Martin for the More Than Medics community, and that really teaches medical students that there are other opportunities outside clinical medicine, and they've built a really beautiful community that if you're really fresh into this, you can just go and join and figure out what other people are doing because you can't really be what you can't see, and I think that rings so true. So
Yeah,
I think if you are just starting out, try and start following and connecting with people on LinkedIn who you like the look of, learn from what events and podcasts and research projects that they're involved in, drop them an intentional message. I think it's really important when advising people with connecting on LinkedIn, don't just send a random like connection request, make it an intentional request. Personalize the invite, being like, "Hey, hey, Dr. Ali, I saw you on Dr. Shub's podcast. I really liked what you said about identity capital. This is mine. Do you think I could make a post on that? I don't know. Like, you could just be
yeah,
specific, or are you looking for a social media intern? I think your reels could do with a bit of improvement, which they probably can. I'm happy to, offer your skills. And my coach has taught me this wonderful phrase of Lulu, which is lift up. So the people who are below you, who are starting out, lift them up and look up. So look at the people who you are inspired by as role models and ask for them for their advice and wisdom. Go for coffees with them. I think everyone will have their own kind of personal journey into creating their own brands and getting themselves out there. But I think connection is the absolute key and knowledge
yeah,
exchange. And it's intergenerational knowledge exchange. Do not have the self-limiting belief that just because you are a medical student or an F1 or whatever, that you can't offer things to a consultant or a chief medical officer at a medtech startup. You will have something to offer them, and there can be that intergenerational knowledge exchange as well, which I think is really exciting, because we have to remember with social media, it's actually a very flat hierarchy, and you can have all the credentials in the world, but if you aren't skilled in telling your story in a way that aligns with the algorithm, you're not going to get the best output, even if you're a professor or a consultant. So it's actually really exciting when I have consultants drop me DMs being like, "Hey, I'd love to learn from you," because I think it's
yeah,
wonderful. Like they shouldn't feel like, "Oh, I'm asking a junior for advice." They're, we're just humans connecting over this whole new digital world. And yes, slightly younger generations can be more digital natives, but equally, there's some amazing consultants on TikTok who can give the younger generations a run for their money. So yeah, I just think be a sponge and just soak it all up, but
Yeah.
also then try and funnel and curate your feed of who you're inspired by and what special interest areas and reach out to them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I think the way you and I met is also such a good example of that. I mean, only because you had kind of said in your LinkedIn bio that you're an aspiring coach. And at the time, I was also in my coach training. I was like, hey, I'm looking for medics, and why is it so hard to find medics who are coaches? And now my feed's full of them. I think there's so many of us. But it was only because of that. And I
Yeah.
think I don't know what it was in me that you just seemed very approachable, and I said, "Hey, I gotta have a chat with you, and let's do this. Let's do something about this." I think that was a beautiful discussion. Tell me about what your world looks like currently and where you're heading with coaching and business.
So my world looks like currently is how do I practice psychiatry holistically in the way that I envisage psychiatry? That is my kind of big life question at the moment because I'm so passionate about this proactive healthcare approach. And I think there are obviously barriers within our current healthcare system of how to practice in the way that you want to. So I'm just having a bit of a think about that. Thinking of maybe doing this is just a thought I had yesterday, so you heard it here first. Maybe I'll do an out of program year on my training to really explore an innovative part of NHS psychiatry. There's some incredible pilot projects looking at compassionate care and things like that in the
Mm,
community. And how can I offer my coaching into these new projects, which sometimes when you're on a placement only for 6 months, it's quite hard to innovate in the way that you'd like to because there are just hoops that you need to jump through as part of training. But then you also want to, I like have a very optimistic mindset of throughout every 6 month job, can I leave a little bit of fairy dust or like, can I leave the service in a better place than it was or leave someone's life in a better place? It was nothing too dramatic because,
yeah,
the people have been working there for years and years and you're only there for 6 months. But can you make a little difference, even if you're just there for a short period of time as a visitor on that ward or clinic? So I'm thinking more and more, how can I not separate the coaching and the psychiatry in the NHS as much and make it all flow and integrate together? It's not the easiest thing, but they're all interconnected, as I said, all the hats that I wear. I am also really proud that at Nutritank we are taking this approach to trying to integrate more nutritional and lifestyle education into mental health services. So last October, we had a milestone moment where we got our first NHS commercial contract with Cornwall Trust to upskill 500 of their NHS staff in nutrition and lifestyle medicine, specifically aimed at those working with people with mental illness. And thinking, how can we scale that more? And how can I do more of that? So at the moment, I feel like Dr. Shub, I am still figuring it all out. I know what I liked and what I want more of. But I also am a very curious person and know I've got a lot more to discover, and I could be totally inspired by a completely other adjacent field. So it's a blessing and a curse when you're poly passionate in terms of like staying streamlined
yeah,
focus. But yeah, I'm just seeing how I can align all my interests at the moment in a meaningful way.
yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
really interesting. I mean, you do have multiple passions and things that you, but they're all kind of linked to who you are as a person.
Yeah, they
It's
are. I love the arts. I
yeah.
love food. I love nature. I love colourful fashion. I know. That's the thing. It is
Yeah,
linked to what I'm
it's like
interested in, but it's
you are the niche. You are the yeah. All your problems are the problems that you're solving
oh
for the
God,
world as
how
well.
to wear brighter clothing. Yes.
Oh, I need to
No,
get
let's
into
talk
that
about
one. Yeah,
dopamine interesting. But yeah, so I mean, to be honest with you, I am still figuring it out. I'm full time in training. And I'm thinking like, is that sustainable? When do I go part-time? I'm also thinking, when do I have babies? There are a lot of life questions at the moment.
yeah. Big questions.
Yeah.
How long is psych training, by the way?
It's 6 years,
6 years
depending
as
on
well.
whether
Yeah.
you are singular training or you do dual training,
Okay.
which in the States they're called double board. So full-time psych training is 3 years core training and then
Hmm.
3 years of specialty training when you've decided what subspecialty you're going into, be that general adult, forensic, older age, children and adolescent, etc. And then
Mm.
say you wanted to do medical psychotherapy and general adult, or old adult and general adult, it would be an extra year.
Wow. Okay.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, very
long
similar
journey.
to emergency medicine as well. I mean,
Is it?
yeah,
Okay.
6 years as well. I am doing it currently at 50%. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it currently at 50%, and like couldn't recommend it more. I would highly recommend our program as well. I think it's a great opportunity to
Yeah.
explore what else is going on in the NHS, outside the NHS.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's so important that we promote portfolio careers and curating your career in a mainstream sense because, going back to the phrase, you can't be what you can't see. And I really do think we need to make training as beneficial to us as possible because when you're a consultant, you are the boss, you are locked into that job. And everyone says just maximize the opportunities in training. And I think sometimes in training you do have to jump through hoops, exams, both written and practical publications. There's so much getting other competencies, but I think time, like an out of program where you can actually just be and explore your curiosities without having to get things ticked off, is such an
Mm.
incredible opportunity and something I'm massively considering. It's just which passion do I pick out of all the things I'm interested in to
Yeah.
put some time into? Yeah.
It's a challenge, but I love that you have that perspective that like everything's going to work together. It's not one or the other. It's all going to live together side
Yeah,
by
it's
side.
this and philosophy that I learned
Yeah.
about when I read this hugely inspiring entrepreneur's book, Daniel Lubensky. He is the founder of Kind Bars. I actually had one
Mm-hmm.
earlier as a mid-morning snack. If you guys haven't had a Kind Bar, I'm sure they're available to you in your hospital
Everywhere.
because they are everywhere. And he's this wonderful founder, and he is on, I think, still as one of the people on Shark's Den, the equivalent of Dragon's Den in the States. And he created the Kind Bar, and I read his book, and it basically spoke about this and philosophy where often when you go out on an entrepreneurial journey, you're thinking of how do I make this as successful as possible in one domain and using one currency. So, e.g., how do I make as much money out of this product? But what he did was use the and philosophy and say, how can I make this feasible from a financial perspective and, very profitable, but how do I make a social impact with this? And kind
Yeah.
of relationship of so Kind Bars are involved in a lot of mental health advocacy projects, charity fundraising for really important causes, lots of activism work. And that's making it a very socially responsible company, which I think is trending a lot more now than kind of traditional companies which set out in the past to just do one thing. There's a
Yeah.
lot more corporate and social responsibility, some which is authentic and some which is quite literally just the equivalent of tick box. But hey
Yeah.
ho.
Yeah, at least they're trying,
Yeah.
arguably. So yeah, I think that reminds me of a concept of the bottom line, the profit that companies generate, and then that became like a triple bottom line, became like a quintuple bottom line with like, oh, you've got to think about the money, but you also got to think about social impact, carbon footprint. What are you leaving behind as a legacy? All of those bits, and I think it's just a beautiful way to kind of look at business and I think
Mm.
for me really helped destigmatize business because I think I kind of grew up
Yes.
thinking
Yes.
that it's such a bad thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Why is making money a bad thing, especially when you're in a socialist healthcare system? We are
yeah,
so homogenized to think that side hustles and networking are dirty. And I know that
yeah,
sometimes I'm still met with a bit of judgment of like, oh, like you're a good networker, aren't you? And it's kind of like, well, it's not a dirty word, it's not a dirty activity, networking. And I
yeah.
don't know if it's because maybe there's old ideals of thinking of doctors in the back pocket of pharma and all those kind of tropes of
Mm,
networking with pharma and going to fan sponsored by pharma, but it's really not like that. As you said, we need to leave the world in a better place, but we need to also have ourselves in a better place so
yeah.
that we can flourish and have our cups full to be able to serve, serve, serve. And if you are struggling to make ends meet because your job isn't paying you enough and you haven't thought about like, is it even possible to do something on the side?
Mm.
Yeah, it's difficult to
It's
serve.
it's really really difficult, and there definitely is a culture change, and there's so many of us wanting to do more, and often that means running it as a business. And but it doesn't have to be a dirty word. It doesn't have to be something that's
Doesn't.
selfish. I actually
Yeah.
the best businesses are very, I guess, virtuous. I think really trying
Yeah.
to help other people is just a
Yeah.
beautiful way to be. Um, I guess we're heading into the last sort of 10, 15 minutes of our podcast. A question that I think I should probably ask you, like tapping into my coaching brain here. The question I think I want to ask you perhaps is, what keeps you up at night about the world?
Oh God, I don't know if you want to ask that question right now. Oh,
Yeah,
yep,
take your
yep.
time.
Um, wow. There is so much and so much that I actually feel I can't really share right now.
Yeah.
Um, so what would keep me up about the world as appropriate for sharing?
We've got a lot of
Oh,
supporters, by the way. We've
yeah.
got, I don't know if you can see them. We've got loads of
I
people
can't
watch
see
on,
anything.
we've got loads of
Just
people on
I can just
LinkedIn
see
giving us lots of
your
support.
lovely face.
And
Um,
yeah,
oh
well,
God, it's a tough one. I'll marinate in it and we'll come to
yeah,
another
I'll tell you what's
question.
mine in
Yeah.
the meanwhile. I think
Yeah, you tell
what's
me.
been keeping me up is this idea of, seeing clinicians where they are right now, desperately wanting to make a change in the healthcare system, really trying to work the hardest within it, but then also realizing that, hey, there's got to be a change. We've got to do things differently. And there are so many opportunities. I mean, being on social media has made it easier. Being able to build apps quickly has made it easier. AI has made things easier. Realistically, like anything you think is possible is really possible. Like we're no longer in the time where, oh, I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough time, or I don't have enough resources. You can just literally do everything. So people are, I think, more and more frustrated than ever before in trying to change the healthcare system. And it really keeps me up at night that the gap between where they are now and where they can get to um, is so much more internal work than external work. And
Mm.
it's just so hard. It's so hard. I don't know if you've had experience with that, both, I guess, in your psychiatry, but also in your coaching work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I would say as an issue in alignment with this conversation, even though I've got a pile of issues, but this is not my own therapy. That will be later tonight. I would really agree with you that a lot of people don't have the belief in stepping out of the status quo and stepping away from that homogenized group that these institutions condition us to be part of, whether we consciously know it or not, and that there is more to life beyond the kind of job that you signed up to. And impact can look really different to different people. So impact can be helping 5 patients in your clinic that day, or it can be posting really positive psychoeducation online and helping five, to the power of
Yeah.
whatever that level of scalability. So I think showing people that it is possible and that there shouldn't be judgment and that you get senior support as well, because I still think that's quite patchy on the ground that certain colleges, for instance, Royal College of GP, have a great cultural shift where they have now content creator of the year in their
Wow.
GP awards each year, but I think other colleges are still very much discouraging, whether it's avert or not,
Hmm.
doctors being on social media, and then it becomes, like you said, this kind of like dirty thing that
Yeah.
actually should be more celebrated, because we are helping to innovate the paper NHS leaflet of you've just been diagnosed with X, or this is a new medication you're being on, and actually deliver information that's evidence-based, as you know, a doctor being a digital citizen as well, and also reducing misinformation that could come from lay people and wellness influencers, etc. So I do think I think the thing that's keeping me up at night is that there's still not that culture shift about
Hmm.
celebrating people on social media and not kind of demonizing it and kind of like judging them for it. And I do
Yeah.
think that's reflected in a lot of colleagues I speak to as well. And people have different perspectives on this. Like, I've worked with doctors who have much bigger social media followings than me, and they'll talk about all the work they're doing very openly at work, in the mess, etc. Whereas I take a much more low-key approach. And like, if you find me on social media and you're interested to learn more, cool, we'll have a conversation. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like brag or bring it up when there's
I'm
no
the same.
context to bring it up,
Yeah.
because that
Yeah.
would be so weird and it just wouldn't create that human connection which I really thrive off. So I just think that there's still a cultural shift and we really need to be getting it into training from the ground up, and it would be really
Mm.
cool if like the colleges and training programs from a postgraduate perspective really implemented more upskilling in
Yeah.
these skills, because I know from an undergraduate perspective, we are starting to see digital health, specialty choice modules. There's even foundation doctor jobs now that will have a 4-month job in um, helping with the information officer at your trust, or
Yeah.
with digital health transformation and service transformation. So I just think we need to have these opportunities more embedded within the mainstream service and training. Otherwise, people are going to leave medicine. And like you said,
Absolutely.
their side hustle will be their main hustle, because their main ecosystem that they've been a part of for however long hasn't supported them to thrive in this environment.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, I couldn't go from out of program to out of program, so but I could just stay 50% and do whatever else I wanted on the other side. It almost sounds like everybody wants innovation, everybody wants change, but they want it in a very sterile, clean manner where, like, oh, you
Yeah.
raise money, you do some pilots, and you do some fundraising. But, you know, true change is, as you're alluding to, is like really connecting with people, getting out there, speaking to them, sharing your stories and hearing their stories. And I think that is just so powerful.
Mm. Absolutely. And vulnerable leadership probably keeps me up at night. I'd say juniors, resident doctors, whatever, not feeling that they can actually speak to their supervisor about issues that they're having either at home
Mm.
or in the workplace. Like, I could tell many a story about that from my own perspective, but also from many colleagues I speak to. And then you're really not having that make every contact count, psychologically safe, trauma informed workplace where if
Yeah.
a frontline healthcare professional is struggling, um, the person that they confide to, they should be able to confide into the person that's managing them. So could talk a lot about how senior leaders need to kind of be less robotic and
Mm.
have that more human approach with their
Yeah.
leadership.
Brilliant. Um, I guess the last question for today's podcast, the time's just flown by. Last question I want to know is what's been your favoriteest bit about being a founder?
Um, it's just so easy working with Jamie Oliver.
I'm so jealous. I love
I
cooking
love
and
him
I was
so much.
so obsessed with all his recipes and his shows. Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah, I'd
Oh,
probably say
fantastic.
that is probably the highlight. And we still speak. We were actually DMing last night. He
That
is
is so
such an
nice.
incredible human being. And yeah, I just loved working with him and hope that the work in the nutrition space can not just connect people in healthcare, but connect people like Jamie, chefs in the community who want to upskill their audience with health messages as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know he's really big on that, and he does a lot of like culinary school and teaching people how to
Yeah.
cook, and just give them a new career, new life, help them do that for themselves. And that's such a beautiful overlap of like nutrition and Jamie Oliver, and helping build communities and changing medicine.
Yeah, I feel like
That's
I
beautiful.
peaked then in 2019 when we worked with him, and that nothing's really topped that since. Maybe getting married, but hey ho.
Yeah,
That was a
congratulations.
real thank you. But that was a yeah, that was a real career highlight.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That is absolutely amazing. I mean, we've got loads and loads of hearts coming up on the screen on LinkedIn here.
Oh.
Everyone's celebrating with us. That's a beautiful moment, and nothing more inspiring to sort of perhaps end this conversation on. If people would like to reach out to you, where can they find you?
So my biggest platform at the moment, we're nearly at 30,000 people, is LinkedIn, followed by Instagram. I'm also on Substack for more long form content, TikTok for short fun videos and YouTube shorts. My website is www.dralijaffee.com. And yeah, my DMs are open. So if anything that we've spoken about today has resonated with you, feel free to drop us a message, either one of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And check out Nutritank. We're www.nutritank.com. We've got free Monday webinars. We've got one coming up this Monday on the importance of vitamin D beyond bone health. So, talking about everything from immune health to mental health. And we have a really affordable membership for all your CPD needs from every topic within nutrition and lifestyle medicine, from sleep to movement to nutrition to connection, etc. And we're doing really great things. So please do check out Nutritank and follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn and our website too.
Fantastic. I will drop links to all of those in the comments, as well as the descriptions of when the podcast gets published on Spotify and other platforms. But that's a wrap for today. A huge thanks to you, Dr. Ali Jaffee, for joining us and sharing your journey, your vision, and the powerful lessons behind Nutritank success. Audience, if you found this episode inspiring, make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you'd like to listen. Our next live episode is a special non-clinician guest speaker, a little bit of like a masterclass. We're going live on the 21st of October at 1 p.m. with Brendan McAdams, who's the founder of Kinetics, and we're going to be talking about the sales cycle in healthcare. So it's a must listen for clinician founders building products or startups who want to understand how to sell into healthcare systems effectively. Until then, keep building, stay bold, and remember, you have the power to create something extraordinary. See you
Big
later.
up. Love that. Thanks so much. Been great.
Thanks.